What's up, guys? Stacy here from Becoming Financially Fit, and today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. Today, Tesla hosted its earnings call for the first quarter of 2021. It was hosted by Elon Musk and a few other executives from Tesla, and they talked about a couple of different things and a bunch of interesting tidbits. So today, I'm going to be breaking down the earnings call for you guys and to let you know what I think about Tesla as a company and also as an investor moving forward, if I should buy more or if I should sell my current position. But before we get into the content, if you haven't seen my channel before, I make videos about personal finance, financial literacy, savings, investing, and I also try to throw some entrepreneurship in there as well. So if you're interested in any of those topics or you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell to be updated anytime I post new content. All right, let's get into it. Before we get into the details about Tesla and their financial results for the first quarter of 2021, I'm going to give you guys some background about what an earnings call actually is. It's essentially a way for CEOs and executives and CFOs of a particular public company to go out and give information to the public about the financial results that they just disclosed. This usually happens on a quarter by quarter basis, and the companies actually get a chance to speak to the public and actually walk through the financial results as opposed to just releasing them on their website. During the earnings call, it gives the management team an opportunity to talk about the good things that happened during that quarter, the bad things that happened throughout that quarter, and also give some expectations about what they think the company is going to do moving forward. One cool thing I like about most earnings calls is the fact that they allow a Q&A session after they've done their spiel. It allows investors, retail investors, analysts, or institutional investors to ask questions directly to the management team of a company, in this example, like Tesla. And those questions are going to be not only about the financial results, but also about current events or news or things that they're planning on doing with the business moving forward. And it really gives you an inside scoop as to what the company is going to be doing in the quarters to come, or what the management team has been doing over the past quarter or over the past year, and what they expect for that company in terms of profits, losses, current events, or anything under that umbrella. So how do earnings calls affect the stock price of a company? Well, there's a lot of articles and papers about how this works, but it's never one for one. A good earnings call or good financial statements doesn't necessarily mean that your company's stock price will go up. As an example, when a company releases its financial statements, it usually does this before the earnings call. It gives analysts and investors like myself an opportunity to read through it, and it gives us an opportunity to ask questions about things that we've seen in the financial statements before we get on the call. I'll give you guys a good example, and this happened to Tesla today. Tesla released its financial statements, it did its earnings call, and after market, the stock was down 3%. But once we get into the details, I'm going to show you guys why this really didn't make sense, because Tesla hit record numbers in terms of profit, revenue, but the stock price was still down about 3%. So like I said, sometimes earnings calls can be good, sometimes they can be bad, but it all depends on what the market is doing for that particular time period. So now that brings us to Tesla's earnings. On the call, Elon started off the call by saying that Tesla hit record production, record delivery numbers, and record net income. He also mentioned that demand for products has been the highest he's seen ever. In terms of raw numbers, Tesla generated over $10.3 billion in revenue from January to March alone. And of that total revenue number, Tesla made a net profit of $438 million, a record. So now let's get into the weeds and analyze a few of those numbers just so you can have some perspective about what these numbers mean in the context of Tesla over the past, let's say, 5 quarters. If we look at the financial results for the same time last year, you can see that Tesla increased its revenue by almost $5 billion, a 75% increase year over year. Tesla also increased its net profit by over 2,600%. At a high level, comparing these numbers for a year out, you can really see the amazing growth that Tesla has been seeing lately in delivering their cars over the past couple of quarters. I personally like to see this massive growth in a company, especially a growth company like Tesla, because it says to me that over the next few quarters or even the next few years, if they can sustain this massive growth, there might be some upside potential in the stock price. So now moving on to some of the cool things I heard during the call. One thing that I like about earnings calls is the fact that the CEO or the CFO, they're on the call and it's live. So when people ask questions, they have to respond immediately. And sometimes you get some really candid answers. So let's go into a couple that I heard on the call just to give you guys some insight about what's happening in the company and maybe some things that might be interesting to you. So first things first, Elon thinks Tesla is more of an AI or a robotics company as opposed to a traditional auto manufacturer. This is something that will hopefully differentiate itself from the competition and bring a new standard of autonomous driving to the everyday market. This is pretty cool because in terms of which companies are the hot topic right now, it's tech companies, and more specifically, AI and robotics companies. In order for Tesla to really become the market leader in terms of car manufacturing and solar power, they need to find a way to kick that autonomous driving into gear. And the only way they're going to do that is becoming the market leader in autonomous and AI capabilities, especially within their cars. For all of my cryptocurrency investors out there, it is important to note that Tesla sold off about 10% of their holding in Bitcoin. Tesla made a huge headline a few weeks or a few months ago when they said that they were going to be investing $1.5 billion of the cash that they had on their balance sheet into the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. When they did this, a lot of other companies started to look at their cash positions and saying, hey, you know what? If we have $100 billion in cash or cash equivalents sitting on our balance sheet, the risk in investing 1% of that, even 1 billion into a cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum might not be a bad idea. There's a lot of liquidity in the cryptocurrency markets. It's quick, it's easy. And for Tesla, what they did was they invested $1.5 billion into the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. But then over the past quarter, they sold off about 10% of that holding, which means they sold off about 150 million in Bitcoin or the equivalent to that in Bitcoin. And they realized a slight gain on it. So some of that gain is going to be represented in their net income for Q1 of 2021. I do want to mention, though, that even though they sold off about 10% of that Bitcoin portion, they have a long-term outlook on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a whole going forward. What they're trying to do is hold on to these cryptocurrencies because they introduced something new and exciting to their online platform that's available today. It's the ability to not only put a deposit down on a Tesla car, but also pay in full for your car using a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is the only option, but you're going to start seeing companies, especially in the tech space, do something similar to this in the future. Tesla's leading the way, and it's great to see that not only are they using it to hold as a cash equivalent on their balance sheet, but they're also integrating it into their site with their customers so individuals can use this as a means of exchanging money for a Tesla car. One of the last interesting things that I do want to note is the fact that they talked about their solar roofs. And importantly, they talked about the fact that they have a multi-year backlog with their solar roof and their solar roof installation process. This means that if I put a deposit down today, my roof might not get installed for another 2, maybe even 3 years, depending on the area, the location, and the backlog. This is very surprising because Tesla and the solar roof was supposed to be one of their key points of revenue. As they're seeing, they are making a lot of money from these roof installations. But Elon noted something super important on the call. He said that every roof is completely different. Some are more labor intensive, some are not. So what they're going to try to do to combat this backlog problem is standardize the entire process. They're going to be including the power wall along with every solar roof installation. So as soon as the installers go into the process, they know exactly what to do, and they don't have to make every single installation unique and specific to that particular house. They can streamline the process. This will hopefully lessen up that backlog and add some supply to the demand that's currently out there for people that are seeking solar roofs from a company like Tesla. Hopefully they can get that handled sooner rather than later, because this will be able to generate way more revenue for Tesla in the future, instead of just being something that's listed as a deposit and future revenue for the company. Looking into the future for a company like Tesla, in terms of volume, Tesla plans to grow its manufacturing capacity as quickly as possible. Over a multi-year horizon, they plan to achieve a 50% average annual growth in its vehicle deliveries. In some years, this may grow faster, and for 2021, they're expecting this to be above that 50% rate that they stated. In terms of profit, Tesla plans to increase its operating margin over time, but it wants to set a goal of making sure it's the industry and market leader in terms of operating margin. And what that means in terms of the investor, it means more money and more money to reinvest in the company. So in turn, the cycle continues and more money and net profits will be generated by Tesla increasing their operating margins. In short, Tesla plans on ramping up production to meet the demands of the customers in the American and ever expanding international markets. This will lead to economies of scale and eventually allow Tesla to generate more profit per vehicle sold. As an investor, these are all good things to hear from a company like Tesla. They're planning on using the money and the funds they currently have to reinvest it back into the company to develop the research, development, and the marketing of a company like Tesla. These are all good things, and you can see it in the past with a company like Amazon. What they've done is instead of distributing dividends to their shareholders, they instead reinvested those funds back into the company because they thought that they could generate more value from reinvesting those funds back into the company rather than distributing them as dividends to their shareholders. This is something that Tesla is taking out of Amazon's playbook, and hopefully it works the same because as of now, you've seen that Amazon has gone and become a global leader in their space, and hopefully Tesla can do the same thing in the car and the solar space. As with all companies, there will be ups and downs, and Tesla is no different. As you guys have probably seen in the news, there have been a few recent crashes involving Tesla automobiles. And there was one more recently where there were individuals in a car where the autonomous pilot was on, but there was no one in the driver's seat. These are all things that Tesla will need to address. They talked about it a little bit on the earnings call, but they didn't get into a lot of detail on it because they're still waiting for the analysis and results and to see what actually happened during that crash. But if you stay to the end of the video, I want to hear what you have to think about a company like Tesla. From autonomous driving to solar roofs to Bitcoin, Tesla is really reinventing what we know as a car company. Do you think they're going to grow into becoming one of the world's top and most profitable car companies ever to be seen? Or do you think Elon's aspirations are a little too big for what the current technology has to offer? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. And if you got some value from this video, make sure you drop a like because it helps me out so much. And also, if you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell to be updated anytime I post new content.